if you've been watching some of the propaganda of the Ukrainian proxy war, you know who Sarah. I'm going to bring a picture of her up here. You know who Sarah is? Sarah Ashton-Cirillo. This is a U.S.-born citizen out in Ukraine who went over there supposedly as a quote-unquote journalist, then ended up enrolling in one of the armies over there, and now is sort of a spokesperson, or has been. Now, she was suspended from her spokesposition because of something else last week, and we covered that, or 2 weeks ago. But now she's back in the news for this video here. Now, she was caught on video, or had a prank played on her where she thought she was speaking to some high-level official when in actuality, she was speaking to some pranksters. But they got her to admit to a lot of things. And let's start with this thread here from Wyatt Reed. After threatening to hunt down so-called Russian propagandists around the world, Kyiv's infamous spokesperson, Sarah Ashton-Cirillo, was fired, then rehired. Now Cirillo is likely to fire once again after being fooled by Russian pranksters posing as former Ukrainian president Petro P. Now, so these are Russian pranksters posing as a former Ukrainian president. That's why she feels comfortable in speaking freely. Now, in this conversation, these are some of the things that goes on in this conversation. Sarah admits their company has been reduced to 14 soldiers by disastrous counteroffensive. Claims of Russians are not European, Russians are Asians. Ultimately, they do not come from the Mongols. They come from the grouping of people who want to be slaves. Here's another quote. Oh, and then they put the quote in there, and we'll get to that in a minute. Or actually, I can read it. Quote, I wish the rest of Europe and Western world understood that we are protecting European values and Western values. These people, Russians, are not humans. They are enemies of humanity. Claims of Dugin's daughter, quote, wasn't some woman who accidentally killed. This was an evil creature who died a death they deserved. Also in the video, admits decisions to fire Cirillo was political and came at the highest level, I would assume, so high that it didn't come from the Ukraine itself, but New York. Also in this video, claims that they were fired because they served as expert witnesses in a trial of a fellow U.S. citizen, Gonzalo. All right, I think instead of reading it, let's listen to some of what she says in this video. Let's play it.
Unit currently, I'm still part of them, is very bad in Bakhmut, and I think they're going to be disbanded soon. We're down to only 14 people in the company, and so while the entire battalion and brigade were friendly, I can't speak to what the new command structure will be like after the situation takes place, when they either get moved or they have to bring new people in.
And so what do you feel about Russians orcs now? So I think that it is part of Mongoloidans.
Sir, you have a European party, and the reality is Russians are not European. Russians, as Mr. Danilov was clear to say, Russians have a different culture. Russians are Asian. And ultimately, they do come from the Mongols. They do come from a grouping, Mr. President, Mr. Deputy, of people who are wanting to be slaves and want to be led just as it was from the days of Genghis Khan. And so I wish the rest of Europe and the Western world understood that Europe ends at Ukraine. We are protecting European values and Western values the same way those did hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago when the Mongols were coming in. While I don't know every Russian, I will say that what's happening in the Kremlin and what's happening to every Russian that supports Vladimir Putin's decisions are not human. These people are not human. They are enemies of humanity, in fact.
Now we have some difficulties. So what is your opinion about counteroffensive now?
For well over a year, we've been asking our Western partners since the days of your presidency, sir, to make certain that they understood the threat of these non-humans, and they didn't want to understand it. They don't understand that we can only win by winning. And so they're being cautious based on what they know. The Kyiv Independent, sir, stated that there was allegations that 100,000 Russians were gathering in Kupiansk and Liman directions. And to me, this showed a very big problem. If our own media calls it allegations, even though two of our generals, who are not political people, said this was the case, imagine what we must be fighting in the Western media. I have a video coming out very soon where Crimea...
Basically saying they're not turning up to propaganda to a higher level. This is clown shit. Now, if you don't... This person, I have to tell the story again. This person, Sarah, reached out to RBN to be one of our panelists. This is like, it has to be almost over a year and a half ago. DM me back when I put out the call. Hey, looking for people to want to be on some panels. Got a group of people. She was one of them. Went back and forth asking questions and this and that. At that time, her whole thing was, you should Google me. She told me, you should Google me. I went viral. So she went viral for some other thing back when she was a Democratic sort of darling. But it just blows my mind that this person was almost a part of an RBN panel, like regular reoccurring panel. And in the DM, she was answering the questions because I was like, we're anti-democratic and we're anti-GOP. And that's where we waffle, why she ended up not, because she was not as strong on that as I felt she should, anybody being a part of RBN should be. And that's why I never added her to the panel.
Announced that they had 30% less visitors for poisonous jellyfish. And yet the Daily Telegraph ran a story that people were still visiting Crimea. So we're losing, we're having struggles on the information warfare front. And then we have the morale issue, sir, where I'm at the hospital right now, and I'm seeing soldiers who are talking to me very frustrated because they didn't feel like they were being heard in certain areas. And so we are dealing with the reality that until we win the information war, our Western partners won't feel the pressure. But we must win the information war both here on the streets of Ukraine and in the newsrooms in New York and London and elsewhere. This is why I also had the controversy, but felt I needed to do it. When CNN called our fighters Western mercenaries, I had to call for the boycott of CNN and risk my position simply because Russia would have used that as propaganda if CNN didn't change the wording. Luckily, it worked, and I received the apology on behalf of all of the foreign soldiers, and they changed their wording to foreign fighters. But every time there's a slip-up by our partners, the slip-ups aren't coming from you and the other leaders here in Ukraine as much as it is, almost never, as much as it is coming from our Western partners who don't understand that Russia's main success in this invasion was on the information front. But their propaganda efforts are the best in the world. Their propaganda, they should not be able to hide behind, just because they're given a television show, doesn't stop them from being war criminals. Then how can we attack Russian fascists with all of our weapons? And our weapons include DRGs. Our weapons include diversions. Our weapons include saying this is not free speech. You know, Solivov and Skabeva and all of them are committing crimes against humanity.
So
we saw what the truth was with Dugin's daughter. They put out a book on the 1-year anniversary of her death. That goes to show that who she was in their eyes. It wasn't some woman who was accidentally killed. This was an evil creature who died a death they deserved for trying to genocide innocent people.
Yeah, that is true. It doesn't mean that we don't have to target Maria Zakharova too.
Of course. She was the first person to attack me. It was April of 2022. And she attacked me before anyone even knew my name outside of USA, outside of Nevada. And she called me a creature who only hung around with gangsters, meaning our soldiers. And the worst part with her is she gets accepted in the same way that a State Department spokesperson would be accepted.
It's weird that she would be fooled by this. Like, why would why would this guy be calling you? Why would he be in contact with you? Why do you think you're that important? I don't get it. We can do so much better than Biden or Trump because we've got West this time. I do think West is a tremendous upgrade from West and Claudia Dela Cruz, who I will be voting for in California. Luckily in California, everybody who's running actually gets on the ballot here. So Cornel West will be on the ballot, and someone even to the left of Cornel West, believe it or not, Claudia Dela Cruz, who's calling for an end of capitalism, will be on. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be on the ballot. But anyway, I think I might play a little bit more of this and then go ahead and close out so I can have a little time to get off today before it have like a 90 minutes before the next show. So let's play a little bit more of it. I'm going to move it forward to another part because the conversation takes place in two different places. So let's see if I. All right. So how about I just go to the other video because they cut it, they spliced it. This is the long version. That's the 20-minute, the full version. All right. Let me see if I can just fast forward here. Let's see if it allows me this time.
To help you to defend.
So you know the process. You very well, Mr. Deputy.
Okay, it was terrible. I think it is not fair. It is extremely bad for our reputation to do that.
Yes, sir. It was political, as you very well understand politics. I made the statement that Russian propagandists will be hunted down, and I refuse to apologize for that statement. And what's not being said is that I was the expert witness in a case against a Russian agent in Kharkiv. And so by knocking me out of this position, it made my testimony less effective. So you know the process. On Tuesday morning, sir, I was fired. At 10 o'clock on Tuesday, I was reinstated. By Tuesday night, I received the analytics report. The investigation was already done, and I was cleared. On Wednesday morning, sir, I was told that the ministry was completely defending me. On Wednesday afternoon, an email was sent to an American politician regarding me from an official email address of the government stating that I was already cleared. And then, sir, 2 hours later, the message appears that I was suspended.
But who was the person who ordered to do that?
I was told, sir, that it came from the highest levels. That's all I was told. And General Tansora was the one who decided on the suspension and the language of the suspension.
When you're talking about high level, what is a person?
I was told that it came from New York, sir, on the trip that the government is on currently.
High level is New York. What does New York have to do with Ukraine? How is the highest levels of decision making coming out of New York if Ukraine is a sovereign country? All of those that support Ukraine, this Ukraine war. Answer that question.
Oh my God! It's so Ministry of Defense of Ukraine tried to help you, to defend you, but someone from New York decided to do that. Oh my God! It is so pity.
Yes, sir. I think I was told that they had to make a big deal and to shut me up in order to possibly get help. So that's why I understand it. I understand.
This person is about just being in the spotlight. This is a attention seeker. I had the same feeling then too when they were trying to get on the RBN show. I had the same sort of reaction. Let's see if it plays. It may not. When I move forward, Twitter doesn't play. Let's rewind it. I'm sorry. Let's refresh it. Or actually, that's it. So I'll close it out here. It's not a big deal. We will close it here, and with my final sort of comments, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this person. Where they're going to pop up again. This person is all about attention, so I'm curious where they're going to pop up again. They just want to go from one viral event to another viral event to another viral event. Anything that keeps them in the news, in people's eyes, in topics of discussions, that's what this person is going to be doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years we saw this person on America's Got Talent playing the piano.